everybody, it's Emily at Arg Schooling, and today I'm going to talk about some 5-star predictions. So I've been thinking about this. I didn't do any 5-star predictions in 2024, and I'm thinking instead of doing what I used to do, which was just giving you 5 books, and then whenever I finished reading those 5, I would give a video wrap-up of them. Instead of doing that, I think I'm going to do 12 and then do one a month. Because I feel like that is a much more sustainable way for me to do this. So I'm basically, this is one of my, how will I force myself to read my shelves kinds of situations. And so this is definitely a way for me to do that. So these are books that I already own. So no new releases for 2025. This is all things that have been on my shelves, either for a few months or for several years. So I'm just gonna run through, and then what I think I'll do is put all the titles in a jar, kind of how I did the 12 recommendations from 12 friends this year, and I'll just pull one each month to read. So let's just go through the books. So my first 5-star prediction is going to be American Rapture by C.J. Lead. Now, I tried to be at least a little bit scientific with my choices here because I really do want to, these are books that I think are absolutely going to be favorites for me. I loved Mayfly so much. I thought that was such a great time. I'm really excited to read something else by this author, and I am obsessed with this cover, for one. This is such a stunning book. This is an apocalyptic story about a virus, and we're following a protagonist who I think comes from a religious background, and so it's her journey through this nightmare scenario. So I just think this is going to be a good time. Next up is a historical fiction that I've had on my shelves for a few years that I just feel like I will love this, and that is Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. This is not an author I've read from before, but this is a book that I feel will be a favorite if I could just make myself read it. This is based on a true story about children who were taken from their families. I think their families were very poor. They were stolen from their families and put up for adoption, and it's them kind of learning about what happened to them and why. I've heard lots of people talk about this book. I feel like it's one that I would really like if I could just pick it up. So I'm going to make myself read this year. This one is possibly a stretch, but I bought it because I felt like it was a book that I was going to love. I just need to pick it up. And that is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. I don't do a lot of fantasy, even though I love the idea of fantasy, and I love the idea of grimdark fantasy. I loved The Song of Ice and Fire, read all 5 of those books, and I feel like I would like this. I feel like this is a book that I would enjoy if I could just make myself read it. I have read something by this author before. I think I read, I don't know if it's called Half a Crown, Half a King, something like that. It's his YA trilogy. I only read the first book, but I really liked it. And I kept thinking I should read the rest of it, and I just never did. But I feel like this is something that I would like. I know this is probably his most popular story. I think it's a trilogy based on the back where there's 3 books. I'm pretty sure this is just a trilogy. I don't know if maybe there are some other spin-off things from this, but I would like to at least read this. I feel like this is potentially a 5. I guess we'll see. I really want to read If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is a book that I have heard several people whose reviews and perspectives on books I feel, if not similar to me, I like the books that they read. I find them very intriguing. So they've loved this. So I feel like this has potential. I do want to read more dark academia. That is what this is. I feel like the Shakespearean-ness of it, I think we're following characters in a Shakespearean troupe. I feel like that could be potentially something that I love. So I feel like there's a lot of potential here. I also love this cover with my whole heart. I think this is beautiful. And it's literally just a skull, but I'm obsessed. This sounds like something that will be a favorite for me if I just read it. So we're gonna do that. This is a given, I think. So far, everything I've read by this author has been a 5, but I feel like surely this will as well. I'm gonna read In the Lives of Puppets by T.J. Klune. I feel like I'm going to love this. I've only read 2 of his books so far. I read The House in the Cerulean Sea, and I read Under the Whispering Door. And I loved both of those. Gave them both 5 stars. So definitely think I'm gonna love this as well. I don't really know a whole lot. I know this has to do with robots. I think it's like sci-fi, but like cozy sci-fi, which is my favorite kind of sci-fi to read. So I feel pretty confident that this is gonna be a 5. Another horror. This one has just been screaming at me. I got this in my Nightworms, and I've just been dying to pick it up. And this is Indian Burial Ground by Nick Medina. I love stories based on mythology, that's what this is. Yeah, it just says, a man lunges in front of a car, an elderly woman silently drowns herself, a corpse sits up in its coffin and speaks. On this reservation, not all is what it seems, in this new spine-chilling mythological horror from the author of Sisters of a Lost Nation. I've not read this author before. I do feel like if it's mythological and it's horror, and it just sounds like something I'm going to like. I don't know. I can't even explain it. But this book has been just really calling to me for months. And I keep saying I'm going to get to it. And I haven't yet. And so I feel... This is the one I think I feel the least confident about just because I've never read this author. I have no idea what I'm getting into. But I want to read it. And I feel like this is a good way to make myself do it. And I think that it has a lot of potential. I think this book wins for sitting on my shelf the longest. I don't even know how long I've had this at this point. But it's been probably close to 10 years. Trying to see when it was published. And, oh gosh, this was published back in 2014. And I've probably had it since at least 2016-ish. So it's been on my shelves for a long, long while. And that is The Fair Fight by Anna Freeman. I have no idea why I have not picked this up, because this sounds like a thing that I would absolutely love. And I have had numerous people over the years, I've had this come up in other videos over the years, and I've just never gotten to it. And I've had so many people tell me, oh, Emily, you're gonna love it. And I'm like, I bet I will. I just haven't picked it up. This is a story that is like Victorian women fight club, basically. So I think that tag alone sounds amazing. 2 women, 2 worlds, only one way out. I love stories set in Victorian England. I love stories about women doing like unexpected things. Feminist historical fiction. I love all of that. So this is absolutely going to be a 5-star. I just know it. I feel it in my bones. I also really want to read more Ruta Sepetys this year. I've now read, I think, 3 of her books. 4? 3. Feel like it's 3. And I really want to read more. So I'm going to read The Fountains of Silence. This is the one I have on my shelves that I feel like I want to read the most, because it is set in a time and place that I know almost nothing about. And I've only recently learned about how in Spain they've decided collectively as a nation to just forget about the bad things that happened during this period of time. And they just don't talk about it. They don't acknowledge it. And I find that baffling, but also really intriguing. But this is a story about the Spanish Civil War, which is not something I've heard much about. So it's set in Madrid in 1957 under the oppressive dictatorship of General Francisco Franco. So I'm very curious to read this. It is a big book, but I feel like her books read relatively quickly. They almost always have short chapters, which I don't know why. I could read a book that is the same length as this, but has long chapters, and it would take me absolutely forever to get through. But if it has short chapters, I fly through it. What is that? Why does that happen? I don't know. But I'm gonna read this year. I feel like it's going to be a favorite. I feel like this will probably become one of my favorite Ruta Sepetys books. So far, I think if I had to pick a favorite of her books, I'm going to go with Between Shades of Grey, because that was my first Ruta Sepetys, and it was excellent, and I enjoyed I Must Betray You a lot. I thought that was really, really great, but not as good as Between Shades of Grey. And I thought Salt to the Sea was good, but not as good as those two. So I feel like this might blow them both out of the water, potentially. We'll see. I really want to read The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. I feel so curious about this author's books. I own this and The Vampires of El Norte. I think this is the one I'm the most interested in, because this is a haunted house story, and vampire books don't always work for me, but I'm curious about it. So if I like The Hacienda, I will definitely read Vampires of El Norte. But right now, this is the one I want to read. I've heard so many people talk about this author and this book in particular, and it's got me so curious. I, again, have not read this author, don't know anything about their writing. I have no idea if this is going to work for me at all. But because so many people have read and loved it, I have this like hope that it's going to be a book that I too will love. I want to be part of that group that loves it, so I'm going to be reading this year, and I'll let you know if it is in fact for me. I'm basically giving myself a freebie with this book, but I just feel like I really want to read it, and this will ensure that I do in fact pick it up this year. And that is We Must Not Think of Ourselves by Lauren Grodstein. This is a book about the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, which, like I said, this is a gimme, because this is definitely something I'm going to love. This is a topic that I nearly always enjoy books written about. Jewish resistance. It's set during the Holocaust. It is definitely a thing I'm going to like. So I feel pretty confident that this will be a 5-star for me. And I have heard only a few people mention this book since it came out last year, and I've just been very curious about it. I feel good about it. It's going to be a favorite. Okay, these last two are ones that I am moderately sure that I'm going to like, but also that I really want to pick up. So I'm hopeful, but I'm not confident. The first one is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. This is one that I bought because I saw a few people that I follow read, and I thought it sounded really interesting. This is another one of those like cozy books. This is a book about a woman who is, I don't know if she's like obsessed with this children's book that she grew up with, and gets to participate in a contest that the author is putting out, and that's really all I know. It's a book about books. It's a book about a contest and games and things, and that generally is something that I end up liking. I think this has a lot of potential. This author also had a new book out that sounded really great, but I wouldn't let myself buy it because I have this and I haven't read it yet. So I really want to pick this up. I feel pretty confident. No, I don't. I feel semi-confident that this is a book that I'm going to give 5 stars. The last book that is a 5-star prediction is The Paragon Hotel by Lindsay Fay. This book I've owned for forever. I'm pretty sure I pre-ordered this. No, I bought this when it came out. Yeah, because this has a bookery. I bought this at the bookery when it came out. I know I bought this the year it came out. Let me find out when that was. 2019. Well, that was an eon ago. So I bought this when it came out in 2019. I've had it on my shelf since then. I swear to God, this book blends into the background and I forget it exists. And every time I see it, I'm like, what is that? And then I pick it up and I look at the synopsis and go, ooh, and put it back. The number of times I've done that is obnoxious. I don't know what it is about this book that keeps like blending into the back. I just forget that it exists. This is set during the 20s. Yeah, it says a gun mole with a knack for disappearing flees from Prohibition-era Harlem to Portland's Paragon Hotel. The year is 1921, and nobody, Alice James, has just arrived in Oregon with a bullet wound, a lifetime experience battling with the New York Mafia, and $50,000 in illicit cash. She befriends Max, a black Pullman porter who reminds her achingly of home and who saves Alice by leading her to the Paragon Hotel. But her unlikely sanctuary turns out to be an all-black hotel in Jim Crow City, and its lodgers seem unduly terrified of a white woman on the premises. So, I can't explain why. Maybe I can a little bit. But this reminds me of that episode of Angel where they, what is it called? Have You Now or Ever, or Have You Ever Been, or something like that, where he finds the hotel that they end up like working and living in for the rest of the series. That's what this book makes me think of every time I see the premise. And I don't know if that is even a correct assumption, but I feel like it could be. And I want to read a book like that. So I feel like there's a chance. I have read this author before, and I cannot say for sure if I've ever given their books 5 stars. I feel like Jane Steele was like a 4-star for me. And I feel like The Gods of Gotham was also a 4-star for me. So there's a chance that this is also a 4. But it could be a 5. Like, it could be. It sounds like it has, but I really freaking want to read this book. So it's going in the jar, and I'm going to read it. Okay, I can do this. It is so heavy. Okay, nope. So let me know in the comments down below. Have you read any of these books? Do you think any of these are definitely going to be favorites for me? Let me know. I need to know. I'm so curious. And I cannot wait to read these and let you know what I think. And I will probably do like wrap-ups as we go. I mean, I'm going to talk about them when I read them, when I do those wrap-ups. But like, I might do some video. Oh, God. I might do some videos talking about whether or not I was correct in my assumptions. So, let me know your thoughts. I'm very excited, though, about these 12 books. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Happy reading. Bye!